Hey guys.
Hi.
What is this, week 4?
Week 4.
We're here.
Still in quarantine. Bitches be reading again.
Chin chin.
We are, like I said, on week 4 of this, which is insane, and it's looking like we're going to be spending
the rest of the summer.
My kids are off of school until September.
This week, as promised, we have Lost Girls.
Ooh, that's tangy.
What flavor is it?
Try it. It's weird. It's
what
like,
is it?
I think it said tangerine, but that's got a little kick. I may be drunk by the end of this.
Robert Kolker. Kolker? Lost Girls. Investigative reporter, journalist, writer, whatever, wrote this. So it's nonfiction.
It is about the Long Island serial killer. Okay? This is why we're
home.
Exactly. Born and raised.
I wasn't born or raised there, but technically
you were an egg.
I was an egg
because her mom is my sister.
So technically,
she spent a lot of time there.
I did with Maya and Joe.
Now, I may be talking in my mother's accent throughout this entire thing. I know you guys love it.
Bless you for watching this.
The book focuses mostly on the prostitutes that were killed, which was a little bit of a shock to me. I thought that this was going to be a crime book. It's not.
Yeah.
It is a book about the prostitutes. So the first half of the book is basically sad story after sad story after sad story of these girls that, you know, grew up in these broken homes all over. I mean,
there's Buffalo, North Carolina, Maine.
There's Connecticut. There's no one actually from Long Island, which is odd.
The closest one was
that Jersey girl.
Megan in Buffalo.
Yeah, no. Wasn't Shannon from?
Shannon was from
like
upstate.
Yeah.
She was like a middle of the state, New York, not like upstate Rochester, Buffalo.
She's
area.
like Newburgh,
was like,
is what they like somewhere
it's a
around
lot
there.
for me to remember. I'm not gonna lie,
but. Yeah, none of these girls were actually from Long Island. They were all brought to Long Island, which is kind of weird because I've always had a saying about Long Island. Nobody ever goes in, nobody ever goes out. I got out. But most of the time, people don't go to Long Island. You know, let's push the Hamptons aside because I don't consider it.
Yeah, that's not Long Island. It's a whole different world, literally.
It's a completely different world. So for this to have happened in Western Suffolk, which I kind of grew up in Central Suffolk on the north side, but where this happened is kind of not a place that anybody would go. It's very odd to me that this was a mad prostitution joint, apparently, because the Hop Hog Holiday Inn was like one of the places.
I guess so.
This is insane to me. I mean, it was right by my doctor's office. There used to be a seedy motel on Wisconsin Highway. I could see that. There was the Shirley Motel.
But not, Shirley Motel for sure. Probably had some.
But the prostitutes in the Shirley Motel, again, this is just bizarre to me. But if you don't know the story of the Long Island serial killer, it started really in 2010. There was a hooker who was brought out by her driver to Gilgo Beach, which is right by Robert Moses. Big beach. Been there a million times. And she's brought out there, calls 911 screaming that someone is trying to kill her.
Right? She had been there for like an hour or two at this John's house, and the driver, I guess they're supposed to wait outside the residence basically for the woman to come out,
the prostitute, because the hooker, like, I don't even know what to call them. What is the?
Someone did call them a hoe in the book, so I guess it's. I mean, the woman.
Anyone that works for a living like that has mad respect to me. I don't even want to call them a derogatory word.
No, it's just someone who's trying to make a living to support their family. As much as last week was not a feel-good book,
nothing here.
This book, like, I could honestly, it makes me super emotional because these women, they're not even women, they're girls. Like, they're younger than I am now, and every single one of them had at least one child. Grew up in a very broken, poor home throughout the eastern part
Seaboard,
of and this was all that they could do to make a living. And so in their minds, like the main woman in this book, Shannon, she was kind of the poster girl for all of this, was trying to put herself through school at 22 years old, through college. So they didn't stand a chance from the beginning. Unfortunately, the world that they were brought into was not a world where they would be able to thrive without some sort of illegal or illicit activity. Yeah.
Let's talk about Shannon first, how this whole thing started. Many of you guys probably know this story.
Shannon Gilbert.
She called 911 screaming.
Hysterical.
Like
what, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning?
911 call has never been released, which Suffolk County cops, shady. I don't understand why that's not done. Shady that you're not releasing that whole call. Mary Gilbert has basically told us all of the contents of the calls. Mary Gilbert is the mother. Mm-hmm. She did actually hear it, but the public has never heard exactly what this girl...
Well, there was numerous calls, right? Or was it just one?
It was one 23-minute long call, which 23 minutes, if you think about it, that's a sitcom from beginning to end.
Minus the commercials. So she was on...
And
the cops did not... It took them, what, 45 minutes?
It took them 45 minutes, but I think initially there was something wrong with...
They didn't know where she was. Yeah, they didn't know where she was.
The state police, which this happens a lot in 911. I've had a lot of... I just know I hear a lot of complaints about this. Mm-hmm. But in particular, she didn't know where she was. She said she thought she was near Jones Beach, which is Nassau. She was actually in Suffolk. She was in Gilgo, which is Robert Moses. It's actually right on the border between Nassau and Suffolk. So she kept switching back and forth between the other. By the time they got her placed, my understanding is she was on the phone the entire time.
Screaming for help, knocking on doors, like well-lit doors, and
people helped.
They didn't.
Gus Coletti brought her in, and he had her sat down on the chair,
and she ran out.
And
right?
Her driver came down the street, and the minute she saw her driver, she took off.
He was the only one that helped. There was a Barbara Brennan, and then there was someone else who admitted that they saw her. Yeah, the doctor. But they admitted that they saw her, but they called the police, but they didn't let her in. Now, I understand if someone is knocking on my door at 5 in the morning, if it's a young woman, she's fucking screaming for help, I'm letting her in. Mm-hmm. That might be my ignorance, I don't care, but like I'm letting someone into my house. The fact that these people admitted that they did knock on her door, but they didn't let her in, and all they did was call the police.
There was one guy who let her in, and she ran away from him. Because she saw her driver, who she had known forever. So that's kind of a shady thing. But I'm not going to say the word.
Nope. But I'm not saying it either.
We're not going to do that.
Where's our bell?
Oh shit, we got a bell.
We got a bell.
But we haven't said it yet.
We haven't said it. I know I haven't said it. You haven't said it. So we're good. But so the book is categorized by, what is it? Like 5 different chapters?
Yeah,
so it starts with like the girls, and then it's the conspiracy, and then it's the bodies, and then it's the aftermath, and whatever.
The community of Gilgo Beach was a big part of this, because
she said it, not me.
What happened was when they went to look for Shannon, because the police eventually did show up. By that time they couldn't find her.
How many girls were missing before Shannon? Was it two
before, 2 after?
Two that had actively filed missing persons reports. Granted, they were not in New York City. They were in the towns that they were from, correct? So there was one that was filed in like Connecticut, and there was one in New Jersey.
Yeah.
So there were two missing persons reports. But unfortunately, when you live the life that these girls lived,
nobody took it seriously.
No one took it seriously, because a lot of them had prior arrests or drug issues, or they're 20 to 22 years old with at least 1 to 2 children under the age of 4, with no parents present. If the parents are present, they're almost as fucked up as the children.
And the parents all of a sudden were present when they disappeared.
That
which just pisses me off.
I don't want to talk about that, because that really infuriates me. But so she was the first one that really kind of got national attention, because this mom, Mary Gilbert, was you know, saying I had just talked to her an hour beforehand. She told me she did have to work, but that she was coming to visit me for my birthday the next day, you know, whatever. So when she went missing, the mom basically just went at the Suffolk County Police, and
which the Suffolk County Police did go to try to investigate Shannon. They never found her. When they had a cadaver dog go out there to basically do something, they found the other bodies. Now,
yeah. Well, the dog wasn't even looking at this point. This is what's crazy about the movie and this book. The cop who had the dog, they were looking, but the dog had to go pee, so he let him out on the side of the road, and the dog indicated that he found something. Just randomly, by chance, this dog he starts digging up a burlap
sack. Although after reading this, it wasn't that surprising that the dog found something, because there was bodies
everywhere.
Down this fucking thing.
Everywhere.
Which, if you understand where Gilgo is, it's very narrow area of Fire Island before you hit Fire Island. So when you're going over the Robert Moses Causeway, there's an exit that dumps you out into
like
this. Yeah. So this would be Robert Moses, and that would be Gilgo.
Yeah, so it's not very far.
Very, very narrow area, and right off the bat, they found 4 bodies that were
half a mile, quarter mile apart?
Almost exactly a quarter mile apart. None of them were Shannon Gilbert's body.
No.
What's interesting is 2 of the girls disappeared after Shannon.
Yes.
So Shannon, this all happened in May. One of the girls disappeared in July, and one of the girls disappeared in September. So the dog really didn't alert.
Here's a better view, just so you can see between Gilgo Beach and what is that?
Robert Moses.
Oak Beach and Robert Moses State Park. So
it's just a very, it's not, if you've ever been there, I mean, it's insane.
There's
it's like
not
a narrow
much.
strip of land.
It's you think of an island, it's not very big.
Yeah, and Gilgo's narrower
one road.
than Fire Island, and
yeah,
you know, it's bizarre to me that this would all happen. What's really crazy is that this killer knew about Shannon and knew that people were looking for Shannon,
and still got away with it at least
2 more people after that.
At least 2 more times.
Which is crazy. And then the search eventually started revealing more and more bodies that were from older cases.
It was like dismembered parts were scattered throughout, I forget.
Manorville.
Manorville, yes.
Hello, like,
yeah.
Manorville is
there was, but the thing is, they found a baby. They found a man, at least 2 men, I want to say.
No, they found one Asian man, but he was dressed as a woman. So they think that he was probably hooking.
Yeah, as a woman.
Which
is odd that they mentioned, because supposedly the John that Shannon Gilbert's house was at, he had mentioned in the book, I don't know if it was him or whoever brought it up, had mentioned that Shannon had asked him, have you ever come across a transvestite?
That did come up.
And
he was convinced that Shannon was a transvestite. Yeah. And I think that's probably when that whole thing went off the rails.
They do.
And what's so odd is that, knowing the area, they were only gone for like 20 minutes, according to the driver.
Who was supposedly stationed outside, but didn't ask where they were going.
There is absolutely nowhere you could just swing by and be back for like 10 minutes at that time of night.
Unless you
were going for drugs and somebody was meeting you somewhere. There's nothing there.
Towards the end of the book, that where the bodies were found is a perfect place to drop them, because there's no residences, no buildings, no streetlights, nothing.
Nothing there.
They had surmised that maybe they might have thrown them out of the car or whatever, but that didn't make sense, because I think they were buried, weren't they?
They were buried in a burlap sack, and so they're
a quarter mile apart from each other.
There's several theories here, and I think that that's basically the book. Obviously, they have never found this guy, so we're here to offer our own suppositions as to what happened here, because
the thing we haven't mentioned yet is there is throughout the book, they kind of lead you to believe, and in the movie, in the Netflix movie, that the doctor, Hackett, Dr. Hackett.
Yeah, let's talk about the doctor.
Who is a part of the gated community. He was like, right down the street or a few houses down from the John Brewer, the guy Brewer, who was housing Shannon for the night. It's very interesting. It's interesting because this doctor is older. He's in his early 50s. He has a bum leg. He has a fake leg.
And he has a history of lying
Of
about
being a storyteller.
He apparently was one of the people that was a first responder on Flight 800. Which,
that's what he said.
No, I think they
was
confirmed.
that true?
It was true, but he would tell stories about it. One of the ones was that they made him go out and identify a body in the middle of the night. Because if you remember Flight 800, it crashed around 8:30 at night. I lived in Shirley at the time. And it was dark when it crashed. So it would, and the FBI basically said that there was no way, or the NTSB said that there was no way they took this guy to the middle of the frickin' ocean to go identify a body. So he kind of embellished his
He was known to a lot of the neighbors as a falsifier.
Like he would insert himself into situations.
Yeah, it seemed to me in reading the book.
He's like my mother. My mother does that all the time.
It seemed to me in the book that he just wanted to be a part of everything. But I don't think at the time he knew truly what he was getting himself into. He had said that he had a home for wayward girls and he was a rehabber.
Well, he supposedly called Shannon Gilbert's mother 2 days after Shannon went missing.
Which he later denied. Adamantly
denied.
He didn't really have an excuse.
He still really hasn't ever admit. He did come forward and say that he did, but his story has changed like numerous times.
The thing that's so sketchy about this entire thing is there's him, there's the John who was with Shannon that night, who was fucking sketchy as hell. His interview in this book, which again, it's from an investigative reporter, so you kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt, but everything that he was saying was just, he was like, come on, it's not me. I'm just I'm just a nice guy. She was just here in my house. But yet he's hiring prostitutes from Craigslist. It was like, a year they had found the 4 bodies. The 4 other girls that are in the book.
They found like 4 in total and then a baby.
4 in total that they don't mention. There was a few bodies that they had found after, but they don't
find
really.
The torsos everywhere. It's insane.
But so this neighbor had said it's this doctor. Like, he has something to do with it, whether he only killed Shannon or he killed these other girls, he has something to do with it. There was like an FBI helicopter circling with the radar trying to find anything that would have been under the brush, because they had found the 4 bodies, but not one of them was Shannon. The reason why they knew it wasn't Shannon was because her boyfriend had broken her jaw. Like,
she had a
metal plate in her jaw because they had gotten into a fight. He broke her jaw, so that's how they knew none of these bodies right away were Shannon.
Nobody was Shannon.
So something happened where it was like a few days beforehand, someone had gone to interview the doctor, and 2 days later they're searching, and the trail to the marsh, which was coincidentally right behind his house, they find her shoes, her wallet, her coat. And that's it. Her pants. Ugh. They find her pants, and then they search her 2 days later.
No woman is going to take her pants off to run through a fucking marsh.
This marsh.
Bullshit. Especially in May in Long Island on the coast, it's cold.
It's cold. Also, she had the wherewithal to stay on the phone with the police for 23 minutes, but she took her pants off to help her run easier. I'm calling bullshit on that.
No, it's your nope shirt.
I don't have it, but I'm calling bullshit on that. Eventually they do find her body. So they found her belongings a quarter mile away. They found her body, which was in the same direction where the other 4 bodies were found. So,
but she was face up.
She was face up, and she was fully intact. Her skeleton was fully intact, aside from the hyoid bone. The hyoid bone. The hyoid. What is it?
Hyoid bone is the one. Which usually breaks if you're strangled.
Which the other 4 bodies in this book, they died from strangulation.
They couldn't find Shannon's hyoid bone.
And they claimed the police argued that it could have been wildlife that took that bone, because it's a small bone.
Here's my thing.
No.
People don't drown face up. You
don't drown face up. You also don't turn yourself over after you've drowned.
There's just,
she was dropped there.
She was dropped there, as were her belongings, because that marsh was searched.
They had searched it beforehand, but with
radar too.
Yeah.
How do you not see clothes? How do you not see
a body?
How do you not? They had all these cadaver dogs out there. I mean, I don't know. I have my suspicions here. There are a lot of theories out there. The one that disturbs me the most is the fact that this guy went and dropped 2 more bodies off in the same spot after Shannon. This whole thing had gone national.
We have to mention too that one of the victims' younger sisters, she was 14 or 15, living in Buffalo.
Oh, this is creepy.
So
I don't like this.
Sister Amanda, she was the sister of, was it Melissa or
Melissa Bartholomew?
Yeah. So Buffalo, not too close or not too far from where I grew up, an hour away. That the sister Amanda started receiving phone calls from a male. He was white.
They know he was white.
He was younger. He would call her and say,
taunt her.
"I'm watching your sister's body decompose." That was one thing he said. Another thing he said was, "You look just like your sister. I know where you live. I'm coming for you next." 15-year-old girl is getting these harassing phone calls
from the serial killer.
From this man.
And I think that they were able to trace the calls to payphones in Manhattan.
It was Manhattan Times Square area.
You can't get a more populated area at that point. And he would cut the calls off exactly at the point where the trace can be determined.
Yeah.
So that there's a lot of supposition that the police are involved in this.
That's the thing. We have to get into that.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because
there's a lot of speculation that a police officer was involved or was the killer.
Was it because of little things?
It is known. Well, it is known that there were some cops that were customers of the Craigslist, because I don't know if we mentioned that, but all the women had posted on Craigslist.
That's where they were found.
That's where they were found. It was on Craigslist.
On Craigslist, they were being called by these people on Long Island to go
come.
out
They'd say,
there.
"I'll pay you such and such. Come out here."
And what's interesting, what made Shannon Gilbert different was Shannon had a driver.
She had a driver. She was the only one that
other
had a driver.
girls that disappeared, not one of them had a driver. There was one girl that lived with these 2 guys. The 2 guys were there when she got a call from the John, who is the likely serial killer, the one who invited her out. This was Amber.
Yeah. Oh, that makes me so
Amber
sad.
Costello. So she got a call from a John offering her $1,500, which was a substantial bit of money to spend the night with him.
Yeah.
And the guy who she was living with walked her basically to the end of the driveway where she went to the waiting car.
He saw her get into a car, and he said he turned around, but the thing is, the men,
they were all
specifically in
addicts.
this one,
yeah,
this guy Dave, who he was in love with her sister Kim, who was also a prostitute.
She was a hooker too.
Yeah, he said he remembered watching her get in the car, but he couldn't remember the license plate because he was too high.
He doesn't even remember what kind of car it was. This particular place where these bodies were dumped you had to know the area. So we know it's somebody from Long Island. We know it's got to be someone from Long Island. My theory is that the doctor killed Shannon. I think that the doctor killed Shannon. I don't think that I don't think that she fit the profile of the Long Island serial killer, because her John was not the John that it didn't follow the same MO as these other girls. So for instance, in her case, she had a driver. The other girls didn't. Her John was identified. These other girls' Johns were not. I think they pretty much have ruled out that it was the John that Shannon Gilbert went to that night. So my theory is that there was 2 different killers. Shannon just happened to be in a place located around there. Now I think that the Long Island serial killer, obviously, he struck twice after Shannon. It would be very highly unlikely for a serial killer, because they're usually very intelligent people.
They're usually Virgos.
But they're usually pretty intelligent. For him to go back and dump off 2 more bodies, that'd be pretty ballsy. Sometimes they're ballsy though. Ted Bundy was pretty.
Ted Bundy was ballsy as
Ted
hell.
Bundy went back and got like some sorority girls. Like, okay, but obviously it had to be someone that knew. So I don't think that Shannon was really. It doesn't fit the pattern, and I think that the Suffolk County Police have determined the same thing. I think initially they said it was one, then they changed their thing. I truly believe that. I believe whatever sicko got the 2 girls is actually from Manorville or somewhere around Manorville.
Yeah, they did surmise to that.
I think that is such an odd area. You would have to know the island to know that particular area where they found these things. I think it was a torso.
It was a torso. There was a head. There was
a
like
head and stuff that was found in Manorville, which is farther out, probably a good 45-minute drive from Robert Moses to get there. So the one prostitute, her torso was found in Manorville, and then her legs
and her head
were found somewhere else.
Yeah. She
went missing in 2003, which was 7 years before all this. So what I think is that guy just found a dumping ground. I believe that he's probably from more the east end of Long Island, whereas I think that the doctor had something to do with Shannon. And I do agree with the police that it was probably 2 separate people, and that particular Shannon Gilbert incident happened at the right place at the right time.
I think it would just be a crazy coincidence to say that the true serial killer had nothing to do with it, but I do agree that it's probably just right place, right time kind of thing, because the fact that they did not find any belongings from any of these other women. They did not find their cell phones, their clothes, their nothing.
Actually, weird part of this. This is the weirdest part.
What?
Holy cow. So, one of the sisters was looking for the cell phone. I think this is the sister from Maine.
Oh,
was looking for her sister's cell phone. Yes. She called Boost Mobile.
Yes, she got the password.
This is so crazy. The Boost Mobile guy helped her.
It was Fire Island, right?
Yeah. Well, no, they dinged the phone. So they were able to get a ding on one of the dead prostitutes' phone. After, like, months after this had happened, it dinged a cell tower in Massapequa, which would make sense that the cell phone is located, because Massapequa is a little bit west of Gilgo, so the cell phone was in Gilgo too. They just don't know where it was, but they were able to pick up a ping because a Boost Mobile, she got the right person.
She called, that was the thing, she called Boost Mobile. They gave her a password, they gave her all of her phone records.
And why did the police not do that?
Because the police didn't care.
Pinging anything.
Because they didn't care. That's the thing. Because they didn't care. Because these women were well, I almost said it again.
Right? We stopped ourselves.
Because these women, unfortunately, were subjecting themselves to this type of situation, which I think it's very sad. It's very sad to me. But my take on it, I think that at least the 4 of them were killed by the same person. I do think that it's coincidental that Shannon's body was found. It was a year to the day later.
Was weird too.
It was, they found Shannon's body a year to the day later after they had found the other 4.
Yep. And what's odd about it was they
had already searched that.
They were all coming back. All the families were coming back for the memorial service. There was news,
like there was
and Shannon everything,
was found,
and
they happened to find her body the same day that all these news crews and all these families are gathering for this memorial, and lo and behold, a year of searching later, they happen to find her body a half mile from all these other bodies. I'm calling bullshit on that. But honestly, I don't know who did it.
No one does.
I think that there's a high chance that someone in the police force had something to do with it. Just given the fact that it took 45 minutes alone for them to respond to a call where someone is begging for help.
Yeah.
I guarantee you right now, if I was to call 911 begging for help, I think they'd be here in like 3 minutes.
Well, that's because the cop knows you here.
But this, truthfully, it's very eye-opening to the world that people don't really talk about, because I know that this type of shit still happens. I know it does. But the fact that someone is still out there that got away with at least 4, maybe 5 murders and is still out there.
Oh, it's more than 5 because they found the other bodies.
It was like, what, up to
8.
10, right?
I think they figure 8 to 10.
8 to 10.
Who knows? Like, there's bodies all over the place. So
Like,
we have a lot of murders on Long Island.
Don't go to Long Island unless you're gonna go to fucking Renzo's, all right?
Yeah, nobody ever goes in.
You go to Renzo's. Go to Renzo's.
We're gonna give you 10 places to go on Long Island if you ever want to visit. Not Gilgo Beach.
Renzo's
in
Renzo's,
Mount Sinai.
Renzo's.
Best pizza. That's pizza. It. Don't let them say Coliseo.
Nope.
Don't let them say you want to go to Renzo's. That's where you want to go.
Renzo's. And don't get just a slice. I mean, the slice is good, but you get a whole pie. It's better.
Mm-hmm. The bakery. You like Parisi, right?
Yeah, I like Parisi.
Italian bakery. She likes Parisi in Queens. That's not necessarily Long Island. I'm a Banker's girl.
No,
she didn't like
Banker's was ass. Don't go to Banker's.
I like Banker's. That was good.
I paid the same for shitty ass cookies. Don't do it.
So Briarmere Farms, you want to go out there? That's on the north end of Long Island. That's the
Where did we go for the jam?
That's Briarmere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Briarmere Farms.
They have amazing strawberry rhubarb jam.
Mm-hmm.
$3.
Absolutely. You want to go to Strathmore Bagel. That's my favorite. You go to the one in Setauket. There's also one in Shirley. You could go to that one. There's a few of them, but Strathmore is the best salt bagel you can get. You want to get the salt bagel just with butter. Don't get cream cheese. And a yoo-hoo.
Always butter. Always butter.
Always butter. So that's number 4 to visit when you go to Long Island. Number 5, you want to go to the Seaport Diner and get your BLT.
You want to go to Friendly's because they're the only fucking Friendly's open anymore.
Friendly's in Miller Place is a good one. Number 7, this is a little tidbit. Okay?
Don't go to the movie theater.
That's gone. I checked.
I know we talked about this last week.
Okay. Number 7, you want to Google Apricot Road in Rocky Point. It is a road. Don't tell your kids. Put them in the back. Strap them in good.
We went to that.
Yeah. You drive down this road. You fucking gun it.
Gun it.
It's
like a roller coaster.
Like a roller coaster. It's so much fun.
It is fun.
It is great.
It is fun, even as an adult.
That is good. Number 8, Robert Moses Beach is beautiful. That's where all this kind of thing happened. That's number 1. That is the number 1 spot you want to go on Long Island. So I'm saving that for last on purpose. Number 9, 2 Madison Court, Coram, New York. That's where I grew up. That is
been there.
Yeah.
Stayed there. Lived there for a summer or 2.
It's haunted. My old house is haunted by my grandma.
It is.
Yeah, dead serious. The night my grandmother died. My grandmother died in the middle of my kitchen.
We're gonna have to cut this out.
We can't cut this out. Why are you cutting this out? 40 minutes. Well, we're cutting a whole bunch of shit out. Okay. We're going. Okay. So yeah, you go to my house. You want to talk about grandma?
No.
Okay.
I wasn't alive yet. Go for it.
Well, yeah. The night she died, most of you people know this. Every radio in our house turned on, playing "We Are Family."
I can't listen to that song.
Mm-hmm. Nope, none of us can.
I don't think anyone in this family, if it turns on, we turn it off.
What are the chances that you hear "We Are Family," whenever you go to see? We're talking about Long Island here. We gotta go.
It's 40 minutes.
Okay, we're going to number 1 place to visit on Long Island. This is gotta be.
Our producer just came in with the time check.
He was like, "Shut up! It's time to fucking drink." Okay, number 1 place you want to visit on Long Island. The most beautiful place in the entire world. It is my favorite place. I hate Long Island. You all know it. Smith Point Beach. I grew up there.
I housed a pizza on that beach.
Oh, I housed stuff on that beach. William Floyd boys were thoroughly housed on Smith Point Beach. No.
All I did was deep throat a pizza, so.
I deep throated other stuff on Smith Point Beach. This place, no, I honestly, I know.
It's a beautiful beach. It's kind of crowded.
Not if you know where to go. The thing about this beach is that this damn plane.
Where's the beach on this shirt?
It is right down there. I'm not touching your boob on purpose, but
that's
it's
not
right
my
down
boob.
there.
That's my chest. But
it's right down there. It's by Shirley, which is not the nicest area of Long Island, but it was where I was born. Where your mom was born. Your dad, Uncle Ryan, was the only one. Your dad, my brother. Oh God.
My dad was not born in Long Island. My dad was born in fucking Ithaca.
That's right. No, your Uncle Ryan was not born in Shirley. He was born. We were in that other place, but then Coram. But Smith Point, you want to go there, and you want to just not acknowledge the fact that there was a giant plane crash there
Yeah,
when I was in college.
It's really fucked up.
It's really fucked up. Stay away from the left side of the beach.
Yeah. Go to the right.
Yeah, go to the right. So when you get there, you want to go that way.
Go to the
and
right
keep
immediately.
walking, and eventually you'll get to. If you walk too far, there's a nude beach. I don't know if it's still there.
It's
Anybody?
not. We went there. Remember?
No. If you walk like a mile, like way the fuck down there used to be a nude beach. I remember going to that beach. I didn't know what I was seeing, and then I was like,
Tits!
that is, no, it was an old man's wiener. I saw an old man's wiener when I was like fucking 14 years old.
You could see it from that far away?
No, he was close. He was close. I'm walking up the beach with my friends, and my friends are like, okay, you guys remember Mike Banks, okay? He used to call himself Shaft. I swear to God.
I'm sorry. Someone you were friends with called themselves Shaft?
He dated Melissa. Yes, he got her in the car.
Melissa, you dated someone named Shaft?
He would get in the car and he'd play the song.
Shaft?
His name was Mike Banks, and he would drive and go, Shaft in the house, all the time. I swear to God. Yes. Melissa Bernstein.
We gotta talk about this.
Oh, she will.
We gotta talk about this.
This guy, okay, his name was Mike Banks. He had a brother named Rob. His brother's name was
Rob Banks.
Yes. Go to Smith Point. That is where the torsos are not.
No torsos.
No torsos.
If you
at
go
Smith
like,
Point. You may have fuselage.
Here, right? Like
yeah.
here.
That's
here.
That's where the torsos are. If you go straight down, that's where the torsos are.
Where is Smith Point?
Smith Point's over here.
Yes, here.
Yeah. It's on the firearms.
So, next week, it's a book I've already read.
I'm reading it right now.
Another Reese's Book Club. It's One Day in December by Josie Silver. Pretty good. It was, I read it last year, so it's pretty good.
I know you want to know how far I got in Ulysses this week.
3 pages?
I got a half a page. I am currently on page. Oh wait, here we go.
Half a page in a week.
Look at this book. This is what it looks like.
I was talking about this book. All right, I was saying that it's not written like a fucking novel. It's written like a science report.
It is.
It's literally. This is like a fucking science report. This isn't even a book.
Fucking crazy.
It's a science report. It's bullshit and shit.
But it is one of the best books supposedly of the decade. So
next week,
century.
One Day in December, Josie Silver, killing it because
I've drank everything.
So did I. We killed people this week. So.
We killed people. Chin chin. Go to
Chin
Smith
chin.
Point. The best fucking beach in the world.
And please don't advertise yourself on Craigslist.
Tell them you know Kerrin. Kerrin Angle. They remember me.
No, just don't
Not
advertise
on
yourself on
Craigslist.
Craigslist or Backpage or fucking anything nowadays. Just stay safe. Make your money the smart way, and if you can't, then you can't, okay?
Peace. We'll see ya.